Welcome, everyone. This is the Education Podcast with your host, Victor Canales. Today, we will be talking about the different types of diversity, but more specifically, we will be talking about sexual orientation. The reason that I have chosen on talking about sexual orientation is because I am a little bit familiar with it, as I have many friends who are gay, bisexual, lesbian, etc. But I do admit that my understanding of it is a bit far off from what I would like it to be. Growing up, I have always questioned sexual orientation, seeing as many people I knew later in life would end up either being gay or bisexual, and I wanted to learn more about what it meant to them. Should we even label sexual orientation in the first place, seeing as people are just attracted to whoever they are attracted to? I want to learn more about the information and development that this particular example of diversity has had up until this point. I want to learn more about it so that when I start teaching, I don't want to offend any of my students or choose a poor choice of words without knowing what situation some of my students might have. I would also like to learn more about the history of sexual orientation and how much it's developed from, let's say, 20 years ago or so. I hope to be able to learn more about this topic and become informed in the history of sexual orientation that has had throughout history. I hope to learn the effect this example of diversity has had on society and to be able to understand the real meaning of sexual orientation. I hope to be able to have my own view on understanding the way sexual orientation works, and I hope to be able to be informed on this topic as a whole. I feel like being able to understand different examples of diversity will help you become a better teacher in the future and give you a better understanding of the type of diversity there is in the classroom today. I hope that researching this type of diversity will help me become more prepared in a future environment where many different aspects of diversity might pop up. I have learned many things as I have been researching this example of diversity. And researching this has also prompted me to have more questions about it as well. Social movements have been dated since way back when people were having questions about who they were attracted to. These movements began as responses to the resistance that was posed by the persecution by church, state, and even medical authorities. Many saw homosexual activity to be far from what was it intended for us to be, and it was frowned upon by society to be a deviance of traditional customs. Society used to believe that males had to be attracted to females and the other way around. This was the type of tradition that society believed to hold true. There are many people in society that believe that these different types of sexual orientations might even be a mental disorder. I have learned of the many obstacles that sexual orientation itself has faced throughout the years by being seen as not being normal or by being deviant of traditional values. Many people who had different sexual orientations than the norm were very scared of exposing themselves to society because of the backlash that they would receive from society. Homophobia has always been a trend in society that has always been around even now. The start of what gave these people courage to come out and speak was around the 18th and 19th century, when there was a growth of public media and the human rights activists were drawn together by these different examples of diversity. Throughout the years of social movements, they have struggled to address the concerns and issues of these different types of sexual orientations. In the US, there weren't many movements in order to help support these sexual orientations until around after World War II. But there were some groups who were active in it before World War II. The war allowed for people with these different sexual orientations who were isolated from society to meet together as soldiers and opened up questions and information about the LGBT community to the United States. In the 1970s, many different activist groups for each sexual orientation started popping up and creating waves in the way they were viewed by society throughout America. In the 1980s, these movements suffered a huge setback when the AIDS epidemic became a thing, and many people believed that this was a punishment set up because of people moving away from the norms of tradition. These activist movements came back stronger, and the Supreme Court ended up legalizing same-sex marriage in all states by the year of 2015. The scientific consensus is that sexual orientation is not a choice, but rather something that is in the genetics or environmentally influenced in people. The way you are surrounded throughout as you grow up could definitely affect the way you think or the way you choose to be attracted to people. Growing up, there's always going to be different aspects that different people have that are going to change the way they think and the way they just are as a person. There has been much research on sexual orientation that just states pretty much that different amount of people are attracted to different things. Everyone has different attractions, just as some people like different types of girls or something that they feel makes a person more attractive. The same could be said about sexual orientation, seeing as you don't choose who you are attracted to. It just happens. I feel that I have learned a great deal about the immense history that sexual orientation has had to suffer through in order to evolve to the point where we are at now. This will help me be more informed in what I need to know for later on in the future, and it will also help me learn more about what we need to be prepared for, considering the different aspects of diversity that are presenting themselves nowadays. I feel that I am more informed on this different type of diversity that could one day present itself in a classroom of my own, and this information will better prepare me to handle this if it ever popped up. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today, guys, and I will talk to you another day. Peace.